Hey, Mike.
Hey, John.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Life is pretty nice right now.
Well, good. How's the wing?
Fixed. I am fixed. And let me tell you, man, it's it's a real treat.
Yep, I bet.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Hey,
So,
I'd like to get together sometime with you if you got time.
yeah, that'd be great. Why don't you, I think you want to send me a message and we'll set something up.
Yeah, that sounds good. Are you flexible in the mornings or afternoons, one better than the other?
It just depends on the day of the week or with advance notice, I can do a lot. So,
Oh yeah, cool. All right.
yep,
Yeah, I'll text you afterwards.
sounds good.
All right.
And if you gentlemen would let me know what you get scheduled, I'll make sure that the police department's aware.
You know, and I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I've been getting some strange phone calls lately, and of course, I was not going to believe it was from you or had anything to do with it. Those are good guys down there. I am totally impressed.
We have a good crew for sure.
Absolutely. Well, as a matter of fact, I get together with you tomorrow at 2:30.
Oh, good. I haven't looked that far ahead.
Yeah.
I've been in meetings all day. So there you are at 2:30.
I wish I'd have remembered that. I told my son I would watch my grandson.
Welcome to bring them along.
That would be funny. He's 6 months old. That would be funny. We'll work something out.
If you need to reschedule, just let Heidi know.
No, I'm good. It'll all work out.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 o'clock, and I will call the Missoula City Council meeting of February 7th, 2022 to order. I'll note that all council members are present this evening in our Zoom webinar, but for Ms. West and Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson reports having some technical difficulties and expects that she will join us shortly, and I will certainly let Ms. Trimble know for the record. Pardon me. We have minutes of our last meeting, and without objection, they'll be approved. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Trimble.
All right, let me share my screen. This is the City of Missoula webpage, and all meetings can be found under this meetings tab here. Once you click down there, our most recent committee meeting schedule is the first link under the other information. and it will download for you. We have a packed schedule on Wednesday. We are starting at 9:15 with the Public Works Committee, and we'll be reviewing a bid award with Prospect Construction for Upper Prospect number 2 water storage tank, and a bid award for Three Rivers Landworks LLC for a water main replacement on Beckwith Avenue. At 10 o'clock, the Administration and Finance Committee will meet, and they have a list of things beginning with the National Institute of Health Grant Agreement with the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes, Communication and Management Services contract for classification of non-union positions for $33,000, Affordable Resident Oversight Committee appointment, a resolution for second quarter fiscal year 2022 budget amendments. The resolution amends the fiscal year 2022 budget to recognize revenues and appropriate expenditures and budget transfers not identified in the original budget. Another resolution relating to up to $3,651,000 for water system revenue bond, the DNRC Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Program, Series 2022 SRF bond authorizing the issuance and fixing of terms and conditions thereof and making certain corresponding amendments. An interlocal agreement with the Missoula County for federal building design and construction, and to revoke resolution 8149, otherwise known as Betty's Fund. We will continue meeting at 1:20 with the Parks and Conservation Committee to review the McKinstry Energy Performance Contract update. And finally, at 2:05, the Land Use and Planning Committee will meet to review Title V Amendments, Cannabis Business Standards White Paper.
Thank you, Ms. Trimble. Are there any changes to the committee schedule this evening? All right, seeing none, I'll note that Ms. West is here for the record, and we'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on our short agenda this evening. Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Just in the last few weeks, I think as a community, we've seen people die from vehicle versus pedestrian collisions. I think it's a big deal in our city, and it's definitely an issue that I feel like is pretty much agreeable across the board, that, you know, the human body is just not designed to impact for impact from a vehicle. I personally know this, being hit by 2 separate vehicles on 2 separate occasions. It's just, I think we need to add more lighting and flashing lights at certain crossings. You know, Johnson and South Avenue is one where there's a lot of activity. Anything on Russell and the bike trail, those are all very dangerous crossings. And, you know, over by the TNC and Good Food Store, I think there needs to be appropriate crossings over there too with lighting. It's just conducive of a walkable, you know, bikeable Missoula and everyone's safety. So, you know, I think I'll be participating in the police commission meetings on Thursday regarding the same police officer, Jay Gilhouse, who came to all 3 of my incidences with MPD, 2 of which were pedestrian versus vehicle collisions, in which he did not turn on his body camera. And I think this, again, is another public safety issue that we need to pay attention to as a community. If our police officers, you know, even the most prestigious and well esteemed, aren't even taking the time to turn on their body camera, it has serious repercussions for people's lives. And, you know, it's just it's really depressing not to see this more addressed by the people in power here, the city council, the mayor, and, you know, all the various different committees. I'd love to see anything done on that front. Like I said, personally being hit by 2 vehicles in this community and seeing a dramatic lack of coverage from the police, from the municipal court system, who issued an $80 failure to yield bond to the woman who hit me in the crosswalk in broad daylight at Higgins and Main. It's just atrocious. And so what do you expect? You know, I totally am not surprised by these vehicle versus pedestrian deaths in the last few weeks here, but it's utterly a shame. I'm utterly ashamed as a community member.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. And Mr. Bretz.
Hi, can you all hear me?
We can.
Cool. I'm here to talk about the clean energy initiative that Missoula's attempting to put on, and I just really wanted to communicate how important I think that is for our community to not only commit, but actually to follow through on. The environmental issue is a pressing one, and perhaps like the existential and moral issue of our time. And if we don't respond well as a community, that will be a moral failing, and also an existential and a future one. And by the city ensuring that we have clean energy, it allows for individuals to make those sorts of choices, which is, I think, very important, because if our energy itself isn't properly sourced, any sort of, consumer decision I might make, like getting an electric vehicle, or trying to use, any option that I have that incorporates the energy grid, won't really matter as long as the city itself doesn't have clean energy. So,
Thank you, sir. And seeing no additional hands up among attendees, we'll move on to our consent agenda items here. And I'll also note that Ms. Anderson is here for the record. Items here were approved unanimously in City Council standing committees, and we save a little time by considering these items all at once on Monday evenings. Ms. Trimble will read the list of consent agenda items aloud, so folks participating in the meeting will know what we're considering. We'll take comment on these items before we vote. Ms. Trimble.
All right, we have 8 items on the consent agenda this evening. There was no city council meeting last week, so we have 2 sets of accounts payable claims. The first is accounts payable claims for checks dated February 1st, 2022 to ratify accounts payable in the amount of $698,748.45 for checks dated February 1st. And the second item is to approve accounts payable in the amount of $561,316.55 for checks dated February 8th, 2022. The third item is to ratify approval for mechanical renovations at the emergency winter shelter. The recommended motion is to ratify approval and authorization of the mayor's signature on the proposal to perform mechanical renovations at the emergency winter shelter located at 1919 North Avenue West in the amount of $32,234. Let's see if we can go down. The fourth item is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with Ennis Flint Inc. for high build paint at a cost not to exceed $45,480. The fifth item is a bid award with Knife River for West Broadway to May to front water main replacement. The award to award the bid for the West Broadway May to front water main replacement project to Knife River Corporation for an amount not to exceed $342,800 and to authorize the return of bid bonds. The sixth item is a bid award with Midi Excavating Inc. doing business as Western Excavating for the Shakespeare water main replacement. The recommended motion is to award the bid for the Shakespeare water main replacement to Midi Excavating Inc. doing business as Western Excavating for an amount not to exceed $269,173 and to authorize the return of bid bonds. The seventh item is a bid award with Prospect Construction Inc. for the Stoddard Cooley water main replacement project, and the recommended motion is to award the bid for the Stoddard Cooley water main replacement project to Prospect Construction Inc. for an amount not to exceed $1,019,926 and to authorize the return of bid bonds. And the final item on the consent agenda is to appoint to the Energy and Climate Committee team The recommended motion is to appoint Chad Bauer to serve as an alternate member on the Energy and Climate Team beginning immediately and fulfilling the remainder of the term, which ends on July 31st, 2022.
Thank you, Ms. Trimble. Questions or comments on the consent agenda from council members this evening? Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on one item in the claims. I wanted to shed some light on one of the Missoula Police Department trainers that the city is paying in our claims. Dave Grossman from Killology Research Group. There's a video of Dave Grossman with millions of views and many news articles about Dave Grossman's police trainings for police officers. Because Dave Grossman glorifies police violence and killing in the trainings that he gives to police officers. And there's a video going around with millions of views about that. And in 2019, the city of Minneapolis actually banned fear-based training, referencing Dave Grossman's Killology training seminars. And then after Minneapolis banned his trainings, the state of Minnesota passed a law to also ban trainings like Dave Grossman's. And I'm bringing this up because I believe the Missoula Police Department and our city don't want someone who is glorifying police violence and killings to be the same person who is training our police officers. I just emailed over a link that I referenced about that video and some of the articles to Chief White and some of the city leadership. And I just want to bring some attention to this because it's an ongoing issue as the city's paying Dave Grossman. And this is something that the whole state of Minnesota and Minneapolis took on because they realized that this is not the right person to be training our police officers.
Thank you, Mr. Carlino. I will investigate further. Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I have a feeling this is the same reason why Ms. Jones has her hand raised. Actually, Mr. Carlino is wrong. We are not paying Mr. Grossman in today's claims. We're paying somebody completely different with the name of Gil Martin, who is a separate total person doing separate entities. So Ms. Jones caught that on today's claims and emailed it over to Ms. Griffin. But I don't think that it's the same person that's being paid in claims today.
And Mr. Carlino?
Actually, you could call on Ms. Jones because she was next with her one.
She lowered her hand. Mr. Carlino?
Yeah, just to address that, we're paying a Killology Research Group, which Dave Grossman is the owner of Killology Research Group. Yeah, so just wanted to clarify that.
Further discussion on the consent agenda. Mr. Hess.
You know, I think it's important to be vigilant and to always be looking to improve. I am interested in learning more about this, and I appreciate your remarks to the same mayor. We have an obligation to pay for the services that have been rendered, and so that's so I'll support the claims as I always do. But it's again important to keep our eye out. Thanks.
Further discussion. Ms. Wasika.
Thanks. I'm actually very curious, and I was hoping that Daniel would be forwarding that information onto the rest of council as well. I look forward to looking at that. Thanks.
All right, seeing no additional discussion, anyone in the audience care to comment on items on the consent agenda? Mr. Larson.
Yes, Matt Larson, Ward 3. Thank you for allowing me to speak again. Yeah, as Daniel said, Colonel Dave Grossman is the owner of Killology Research Group. And there's also a $10,000 ammunition charge for MPD here on the claim sheet this week too. Over $10,000, which we've addressed many times, the policy ammunition wise at MPD, which we'll just call it very loose. They're spending literally close to $100,000 since this first showed up to my knowledge, on the spending for the claims about a year ago, or maybe a little longer than a year ago. It's racking up to a huge bill during an ammo shortage nationally. And there's riot gear being purchased. There's extra motorcycles being purchased. There's new chiefs who personally have, 30 plus kills attributed to their career. And we're former leaders of the SWAT team and the California State Highway Patrol. And there's that whole thing too. We won't even get into like their weird named ranches or anything like that.
Point of order.
There's a lot
Point
of
of order.
overtones here.
This has nothing to do with claims.
Agreed, Ms. Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Seeing no additional comment on the consent agenda, we will have a roll call vote.
All right, voting on the consent agenda, starting with Councilperson Anderson,
Yes.
Becerra,
Yes.
Carlino,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Jordan, did she fall off?
Yes.
There we go. Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
and West.
Yes.
It's 12 in favor and it's unanimous.
And the consent agenda is approved. We don't have any comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, nor the community forum this evening. We don't have any special presentations, nor do we have any public hearings. We do have 2 items for final consideration. These items land here after each has had a public hearing and an opportunity for folks to weigh in. And council will take final action on the motions before it this evening. Our first item for final consideration comes from the Administration and Finance Committee. Ms. Jones.
Actually, that is Ms. West.
Old habits die hard. Ms. West, my apologies.
I am without a computer because it died and is at IT. So Ms. Jones, if you could read the motion, that would be great.
Happy to. So this is item 9.1, Missoula Redevelopment Agency Fiscal Year 2021 Budget Amendments. And I would like to make the recommended motion that we adopt a resolution amending the annual appropriations for the city of Missoula, Montana, as set forth in the fiscal year 2021 budget that amends the total Missoula Redevelopment Agency MRA budget, including increasing revenues by $2,103,763 and increasing expenditures by $2,183,338 in order to recognize appropriate revenue based on final valuations and mill levies, anticipated grants and bond proceeds, and administrative and project-related revenue and expenditures during the fiscal year, and incorporate ongoing construction projects and bond issues with related debt service that were carried forward from fiscal year 2020. I'm happy to speak to it, but I would to defer to the chair, Heidi West. Having read the motion, I can go second.
Go for it.
Okay. Happy to go forward. I will just speak briefly to this. We had an extensive presentation on this in committee. The audit is coming up and we need to complete this so that everything is finalized and all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed for the audit. And basically, to just put it in a sentence or two, all of the information that Jelaine Dunn gave us when she presented, basically, these are the final numbers that come in as projects go forward. The budget, of course, is done as best as possible looking forward, but months later, then we've got final numbers on all of these moving targets, basically. And so that's exactly what this budget amendment does, is now that they've got the hard numbers in, they can finalize the budget. And that's what we're doing in order to be all queued up for the audit. So I'm in support of it.
And the motion is in order. Is there a discussion on the motion? Mr. Carlino.
Thanks. Yeah, of the proposed $2.1 million in this budget amendment, $1,886,000 of those dollars went towards the project of building the AC Hotel by Marriott. And I understand that roughly $650,000 of those TIF funds were used for the right of way and the utility relocation, which I agree are benefits to the community as a whole. But however, I believe the Marriott should be paying for their fair share of the sidewalks and the utility relocation. I'm also concerned about the $1.2 million of TIF funds there that the MRA paid the Marriott for deconstruction and remediation. I agree that deconstruction should become this, or I think deconstruction should become the standard requirement since it is necessary to meet our city's waste reduction goals. And many other cities in the US already require deconstruction on all buildings that were built before 1945. And I think we should also require the Marriott to pay for it themselves. I don't believe the MRA needed to subsidize a $50 billion company like the Marriott because the Marriott could afford to build in this TIF district anyway. And in fact, this is the second hotel this developer has recently built on that very same block. So this $1,886,000 that the MRA subsidized to the Marriott could have been used towards local businesses or towards affordable housing instead of going towards constructing another corporate hotel in Missoula's downtown. So therefore, I won't be supporting this amendment. Thanks.
Further discussion on the budget amendment. Ms. Wasika.
I have to agree with my colleague, Mr. Carlino, on this one. I don't think that this should go to corporate welfare. So therefore, instead of reiterating everything that he said, I just agree with him and I will not be supporting this motion tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Wasika. Any additional comment? I will just note for the record that council has it within its purview to change policy. Policy currently allows anyone to apply for TIF funds for reimbursement for deconstruction or demolition. Also allows for the application for public improvements in the right of way and utility relocation. So make a referral and change the policy. In the meantime, you're actually voting against having our books accurately reflect activities. Doesn't make a bit of difference with regard to how the money was spent. That ship sailed a long time ago. Further discussion? Anyone in the audience care to comment on the budget amendment? Mr. Larson.
Matt Larson, thank you for allowing me to speak for the time being. Ward 3, I think that I can echo Daniel Carlino's sentiments and as well as Vaseka's, Councilwoman Vaseka. There, I think, needs to be a deep reckoning and definitely a change of rules as far as the use of TIF in the community. And I think it's very very deep when you look at this amendment. There's $10 million of debt services, major debt services right there, and that's what we're really talking about is the operation of the city and debt in general and the general like health of the city's general funds. So the mayor may be unhappy on dissent, but I think it needs addressing, and I'm proud of any council people who decide to vote against this, and I think the community would be too. But thank you for allowing me to speak and not muting me.
I will note for the record that I'm not unhappy. I'm pointing out what I believe to be an opinion, which I get to do as well. And I welcome dissent. Ms. Wasika.
Thanks. And yes, I do understand that there could be a referral on this to change the rules. However, just because something is allowed, I don't think that we should make sure that it's no longer allowed and just change the rules so that you can no longer do this. I mean, it is at the discretion of the MRA to go along with this and to grant those. And this is just me saying that I disagree with it. So I don't want to just put more rules against this. I'm disagreeing with it at this moment.
And I will once again reiterate, the Missoula City Council is the policy body for the city of Missoula. MRA is an agency of that city. And if you don't like the rules, it's your opportunity to change them. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on the budget amendment.
All right, beginning with Councilperson Becerra.
Yes.
Mr. Carlino,
No.
Contos,
No.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Jordan, Nugent.
I don't believe she's with us at the moment.
All right. Mr. Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
No.
West.
Yes.
All right. We have,
You didn't, Claire, make it back around to the beginning of the alphabet.
oh, I'm sorry, you're right. And Ms. Anderson.
No problem. Yes.
All right. We have 8 yeses and 3 nos. So
And one absent.
And 1 absent, yes.
Thank you. And the resolution is approved. And our second resolution, Ms. Jones, you got the computer.
Excellent. All right. I would like to make the recommended motion that we adopt a resolution amending the annual appropriations for the city of Missoula, Montana, as set forth in the fiscal year 2021 budget and capital improvement program. And again, we had a full presentation on this. This is in preparation, getting this completed for our audit, which is in process right now. And it basically, the great majority of this, there were revenue adjustments for CDBG funds and build grant, that kind of thing. But mostly it was bond payments and bond closing calculations. So those are the final numbers that are in now, and we are revising our budget to reflect it. So I'm in support of it.
Jones' motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I see no hands up among attendees this evening. We'll have a roll call vote.
All right. Mr. Carlino,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Becerra.
Yes.
All right, that is 11 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you. And that resolution is approved as well. We have no additional items for final consideration. I will pass on communications from the mayor this evening and begin general council comments with Mr. Nugent.
Thanks, Mayor. I would just say that I think it's important that we follow through on our obligations, and if we're going to change things, we need to do it in the proper ways. So with that, I will finish for the evening.
Mr. Contos.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Ms. Jones.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Mr. Carlino.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the thing I was talking about in the claims. I just think this is something that everybody should be concerned about, just hearing initially, and maybe it's not something that needs to be changed, but when we're hearing about somebody who we're paying to help train the police officers, I think it's important to look at who that is, what that group is, and what their ideologies are. And I just don't think we should be so fast to dismiss things like that, because it's got real life consequences for people in Missoula who have to deal with the police. So I just want to echo that it's worth looking into, and I'm happy to forward that information on to everybody else that I sent to Chief White. Thanks.
I agree, Mr. Carlino. First, I've heard of it, and I'm happy to look into it. Certainly don't want to dismiss that, because I agree, if there's a problem, we need to deal with it. Yeah, so if you'd please forward that information to me as well, I'd be grateful. Ms. Cheryl.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Ms. Wasika.
Thanks. First of all, I wanted to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for helping us do the proper channels on everything and help teach us a way on properly how to do that. Secondly, that's not last week, but the week before, Stacey Anderson mentioned that the fire department has asked if you have a fire hydrant next to your house or close to your house to kind of shovel around it. And I wanted to remind everybody, now everything's getting really icy, and it really does help the fire department if the neighborhood can come together and make sure that the fire hydrant is cleared in case there is a house fire. I also I wanted to talk about Mr. Larson. Oh, I cannot believe he's been hit by 2 cars. That is insane. I'm so sorry about that. And I don't want to dismiss that at all. And I just want to remind everybody, it's winter, it's icy. Please make eye contact with the drivers before you cross the streets. Make sure that you leave plenty of room to stop. Just 3 days ago, I was at the corner of Stevens and Brooks, and somebody saw their friend across the street and just ran right through the intersection. I'm surprised that nobody got hurt in that. So just want to remind everybody, it's winter, it's icy. Please remember that. We live in Montana. It's not news. Just be safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to the MRA staff for putting together such a detailed presentation. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, can't remember. The days keep flying by. And also to note that just how significant TIF dollars have been in the public good in Missoula. And I just want to note that for the record, as we're talking about different things in the work of the MRA. If you've studied it, and I spent the better part of last summer doing a lot of reading about TIF, you do realize that ultimately it is in the public good. Thank you.
And Ms. Anderson.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. I do want to point out that I was incorrect with my comments. It was actually ES Press Inc. that was under the claims for the police department. That was Dr. Gil Martin, and appreciate Daniel Carlino's comments in regards to Mr. Grossman. Definitely want to follow up with that. So just wanted to acknowledge when I said something wrong and point that out. Anyways, I do want to say that I just today in today's mail received a thank you note from the Western Montana Humane Society, because I gave a small contribution to the Betty White Challenge, and they said it would be biggest one-day fundraiser that the Western Montana Humane Society had ever had, and that they raised over $15,000 in that one day from over 400 donors, many of which were new. And so I would like to say thank you to my fellow Missoulians for giving when they were able to, and hope that they continue to give generously when they are able and have opportunity to do so. So I thought that was pretty cool to acknowledge that many people are giving in the name of Betty White, who was a true champion of animals, all shapes and sizes. And thank my fellow Missoulians and Western Montana folks for contributing as well. So just a little bit of happy news for you all on that.
And Mr. Hess.
I'll pass. Thanks, Mayor.
Ms. Becerra.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take the opportunity and thank the homeless outreach team, the HUT team, for all the incredible work that they do every day, but especially in helping our unhoused residents transition from one area into a safer place. And I also want to thank the many members of the community and organizations who help our unhoused neighbors' pets in helping, keep them fed, feed them, and provide any services that these pets need. These are important companions for a lot of people who live on the streets. So I am grateful that we have members in the community that look after them too. So overall, just proud of all the work that's being done to help our unhoused community. Thanks.
Ms. West.
I'll pass.
And for the record, Ms. Jordan is back. Ms. Jordan, we're wrapping up council comments with you. If you have any. Ms. Jordan, you're muted. I believe Ms. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ooh, we have a terrible and eerie connection at the moment, Ms. Jordan. All right, Ms. Jordan, we will wait till next week to hear from you, I'm afraid. I think technology is not on our side this evening. We have no committee reports this evening, folks, nor any items of new business. Are there any additional items to be referred tonight? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, or announcements? Seeing none, as always, I thank you for your service, and we will be adjourned.